Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of Aurelia. This is the second episode. Go check out the first one where we built this interchange. Now, in this episode, we are going to be, just like you could have seen in the opening shot, we are going to be populating the area inside this interchange. We're going to be populating mostly the two biggest blocks inside the interchange, which is the rounded one, where I put that big tower, and this the second one right in the middle. Now, these two areas definitely fall into the category. If you remember from the last episode, I said that I'm going to do like two levels, let's say, of places. I'm going to be detailing some areas, and then some different places are just going to be like fillers, not really going to be detailed that much. So these places are definitely going to fall into that first category. I definitely do want to detail them. That's why I'm not really building in this episode on that like big area, although there's a lot of tiny details in here, and kind of all these buildings need to be positioned properly. So even though we did not build on a very big area, it's definitely enough for a full episode. So what am I doing here? First, I should say that the footage for this stream, for this video, is taken from multiple streams. So, and they are not exactly in chronological order. So sometimes I'm doing some construction that I did later, and I'm putting it in the video, so it kind of makes more sense. So, what are we doing here down here? This place, actually, you could have seen the first episode in one of the cinematics shots with the tram and with the people using this area. So what I did here is created some kind of a tram road right next to the actual road. I kind of want to have in the entire city, I kind of want to have the trams completely separated from the roads. So doing it exactly like that. And the buildings in here are kind of straightforward. Underneath the highways, I'm placing some kind of a commercial buildings, usually some smaller, short commercial buildings, short obviously, so they would fit there, as you can see here. And then using extensively some, especially the prop it up mod to get rid of some of the props on the buildings that would otherwise get, into the highways on top of them. Now, this is exactly what I was talking about. I actually created this rounded area over here quite recently, and then I'm going to go back to the footage that I had recorded earlier to finish this entire area. So as you can see here, I'm already using the procedural object quite a lot, which I was not really doing at the start of this map. But it kind of is needed here. I'm trying to use this commercial building, this nice long commercial building, into this place, but obviously need to make some kind of tweaks, otherwise I would not be able to have it here underneath those two highways. And like I said before, just filling the place underneath the highways on the ground level with some commercial buildings. Now in this particular place, I'm doing these row buildings, kind of making them rounded to the curvature of the road, and then using some different buildings as well. I was kind of running out of buildings in this area, so yeah, exactly this building right here, I already used the procedural objects again to kind of cut a few floors away from that building. Only have like 2-floor building, which would actually fit quite nicely underneath those highways, and doing just some little tiny tweaks as well. Now for the area inside this well, how should I even call it, for this block, this round block inside the highway interchange, I wanted to do something completely different at start. You could have seen that actually in the first few shots. I placed the Kingdom Tower, which is supposed to be like a real-life building, the tallest building in the world, soon to be, I suppose. You're not really sure how it's going, but anyway, I kind of used it there, and it was looking all right. Although the footprint of the building was like a triangular shape, so not exactly fitting into this round block in here. And the building at its base was not really all that big, so I decided to go with completely different approach, and I did this. I kind of wanted to split this upper area into 2 more levels. The one level which would have the observation tower, which I do believe is the building from Park Life, the vanilla Park Life building. And then like a second layer, well, underneath that observation tower level, I would have some high-rise office buildings with maybe some kind of a plaza or something like that. So yeah, I use the network concrete wall to kind of divide that place in two. And later I'm going to be filling the surfaces. I had to use a lot of procedural objects up here. Like I said, this is more recently constructed area, so I definitely used a lot of procedural objects. And that's kind of the common theme for this city, at least for now. Although, to be completely honest, I kind of want to refrain myself from using procedural objects that much in the future, especially for surfaces, like rounded surfaces and such, because it just takes so long to do that. Although the results are very, very nice. So right here, I'm kind of trying to create like an entrance, road entrance into this area, because these buildings do need some kind of a road entrance. Even though in real life, I mean in future real life, maybe I would not need any roads, because I would probably only provide maybe some pedestrian paths up here or something like that. Or I might have even constructed these buildings so that they would sit on the ground level. And all the roads and all the access, points would be below this this upper plaza level, just underneath that observation level or observation tower level. So in here, I'm trying to use the procedural objects again and create some kind of a nice entrance into this upper area. Also using these nice little walkways up here, so it's definitely going to be kind of walk friendly area and kind of car unfriendly place up here. And that's kind of a very common theme that I'm going to be following in the future episodes, that I don't really want to do roads that much in this city. I definitely don't want to do, any kind of grid or any kind of pattern. And some residential areas, especially residential areas, the one that I already kind of started doing, and it's going to be in some future episodes, I definitely did not do that many roads. So definitely very unfriendly for cars this in the city, especially the residential areas, like I said. All right, so creating some kind of an entrance to this upper area, using the ruler again to kind of get some reasonable clearances from that entrance towards the tunnel, and then doing some of these procedural objects, doing like these decorative beams up here on the right on top of the entrance. I'm not actually sure, to be completely honest, what kind of purpose they might have, but I see them all the time in real life tunnel structures, and it's looking very nice as some kind of a different decoration, some architectural element. So doing them even in here, even though this is not really a tunnel, and it's going to kind of just serve as a decoration, like I said before. And this is kind of what I was talking about. This actually took me a really long time doing the procedural objects like this to nicely position that grass fake surface, obviously, over that or around that rounded part of the concrete network wall. By the way, these concrete walls, I'm definitely going to be using them, and I am using them in the city. Probably way too much, even though they are really, really nice. While making this, while building this area, I was actually a bit worried that I'm using network structures a lot, like curbs and the concrete walls and the keys and all that, and maybe I might actually struggle with the network limits that this game has. So we will see about that. I was not exactly sure how else to do these places, because I rather do networks instead of props for example, curbs, and especially these rounded shapes. It's close to impossible to do it with props. So another entrance point into this upper area, that's going to be these elevators. This first one I'm going to create right towards the upper floor of this entire area, which is the floor where the observation tower is. Now I'm using the invisible paths and then kind of decorating this place up here. I haven't really tested this place, if it actually works, if people look like they actually walk nicely into that area. So that's something that I will need to do in the future. Although, to be completely honest, the city, it's going to take a while before the city will actually start working. You might probably notice that in a lot of these shots that some of the buildings are complaining about not enough workers, maybe even not enough, I don't know, goods to sell, or crime rate high or something like that. That's because I'm starting with the office areas and I'm not really considering any actually like gameplay stuff in here just yet. That's gonna come in the future. So that's something that needs to be understand and understood, that the city is not yet really working, but it will be. It obviously will be. I don't want to have just a static, lifeless city in the future. So right here, this is the only road entrance to that upper area. This is the opposite side of that entrance I was building up here. Now down here, I didn't really decorate it that much. I just created the procedural objects again for that building, for the brown brick building, to kind of make like a, I don't even know how to call it, just to have it so that the road goes underneath that. And then some of those concrete walls again to kind of hide the entrance a bit. Now in here, up here, I just created like a little loop, like an asphalt road loop with nice big crosswalk. So this place definitely looks like it's not very friendly for cars. Also, one kind of an important thing that's going to be appearing in the entire city is that there's definitely, at first glance, there's definitely not enough parking at all. I am not even playing with the parking AI, and I'm just assuming that a lot of parking is done underground. For example, right here we have that road which goes, from the ground level into this entire block, and then resurfaces back up here in that area that I detailed just a few seconds ago. This one. So I kind of assume that there might be some kind of a different access for like a big underground parking lot right underneath this block, and I don't really need to, pollute all the visible areas of the city with parking lots or parking garages or parking spots, all kinds of that stuff. Sometimes I will do parking garages on the surface, but not really to provide parking, but only to kind of make it look all right. It's just like I'm using parking garages so that they are like a decoration. All right. So I'm here trying to kind of finalize the place by doing all these planters, all the trees and bushes and all that, flowers as well. Usually when I create some kind of areas like that, or when I get into the part when I'm just putting down trees and all that, the decorations, I usually create like a palette of stuff that I want to create, and then just pick it up with Move It, because it's definitely more easier to pick up trees with Move It and then position them into the right location. I'm also using the I'm using the mod which is called the tree snapping mod, I think. I'm not sure about that, but it's basically the mod that allows you to move trees and bushes up and down with Move It. It's very necessary, obviously, because I'm doing a lot of these fake surfaces. So while I was talking about that, we have moved on towards that second block in this area. This one is going to be a bit more straightforward. I already built it at the start, and then I decided that I want to redo it. For example, that area up there that I was building just a few moments ago, the elevated area on the back of the building, I had it I had it in pavement. I had it paved, and it was just like a surface on the roof, right? But then I decided that I kind of want to go with a more green approach, and I actually switched it for grass and put some kind of bushes and trees. Maybe it could be some kind of like an office recreation area, kind of a lounge area, maybe something like that. And just doing like a straightforward little, like a front yard, whatever you might call it, for this building up here. Now, this kind of a parking spots obviously don't provide enough parking for the entire building, although I kind of feel like these small parking areas are maybe for like the bosses of the company, or like maybe some guests or something, foreign delegations. So, I definitely understand that doing like a tiny few parking spots in front of huge office buildings is definitely not enough for all the workers, but that's kind of not the point. It's pretty much just a decoration. Also in here, I started working on that area underneath the railroad, which is like buried deep inside the entire thing. And then I was building this little pedestrian walkway on the side of that railroad portion of that bridge, because the model of that bridge already had like a little ledge on the side, which felt perfect for some kind of a pedestrian connection over the river. Now this is obviously going to be used in the future when I actually start building on the other side. And on this side I used the elevator, again just like a procedural object, to make it look all right. I will later make it functional. Right now I just made it so that I kind of remember that I want to do it in the future. Anyway, we are almost at the end of the second episode of Aurelia, so let's just look at some nice cinematic shots of what we ended up with after today's episode. I will continue with the areas more towards the train station in the next one, so definitely stay tuned for that. Thank you guys for watching, subscribe if you're new here, leave a comment, and I'll see you in the next one.